Hello, and welcome to a fresh new episode of DynamicCIO Talk Show. That's where we invite industry and business leaders, technology experts, solution providers to talk about the future of business, future of innovation, and future of digital transformation. Today's episode will focus on something that is undoubtedly the bedrock of any business. I can call it inevitable, which is customer engagement. Now, customer engagement, as we know, and all of you would agree with me, has undergone a tremendous transformation during and the post-pandemic, which broke out early last year. With most businesses offering services through digital channels, every type of industry, every segment of business is not only squarely focused on customer experience, but also trying hard to redesign and redo it. And that's because of many reasons that are known and unknown for all of us. It won't be any exaggeration to say that those companies that adopt to the changing needs of their customers will recover more rapidly and be better positioned than their competitors. We have seen that live examples of those kind. Consumer companies will have to invest a lot, in fact, in data, in technology and systems that are required so that they are able to deliver the kind of exceptional experience that the customer is looking for, and also position themselves as the next customer experience leaders. In future, we would expect increased investment in more cutting-edge digital solutions, which will not only empower the workforce to work remotely and serve their customers, but also offer greater omni-channel experiences so that the customer doesn't remain dissatisfied on any front, on any channel. Now, I can go on and on, but that's not the purpose of this show. I have a very special guest with me to discuss all of this and much more. Let me welcome Ved Antani. Ved is the Managing Director at Twilio India and also the VP of Engineering of the company. Hi, Ved, how are you doing?
Hey, Rahul. Thanks for having me today. You actually spoke about so many interesting aspects of the changing world that I'm very excited to actually go into details of that.
Absolutely.
Personally, this is very, very sort of a favorite topic of mine. So please excuse me if this talk goes on for a long time.
No, you can please feel free to go extempore and as long as you can, because I understand from your background how passionately you have been working in this field of customer experience in the economy, in the gig economy, in the digital economy that you have been working in. So Twilio, as I understand, is about creating a set of tools to make it easy for developers to insert a host of communication functionalities into the application itself with very easy coding. I mean, that's the technical aspect of Twilio. However, how does that help the developer on one hand and the businesses on the other? Now, what I'm trying to understand from you in a nutshell is, what does Twilio do?
Yeah, I think Twilio has transformed into what we now know as CPaaS. In fact, Twilio practically invented this entire sector of market.
Okay.
And I think, like you said, Twilio does one thing amazingly well, is to enable developers to do their best work. Right? Based out of San Francisco, Twilio was founded in 2008 by Jeff Lawson. And Jeff says one thing which I really believe is the foundational piece of Twilio. He likes to call Twilio developers company. And when we saw the changing dynamics of pandemic, we realized that Twilio was built for the day, built for this day, because it enabled so much possibilities for developers to quickly get onboarded, get their digital needs on CPaaS, that we are seeing the validation of our vision. Since it was founded, Twilio has the one mission of democratizing communication channels, including voice, text, email, video, all of these things that now we are very familiar with in last 2 years. And, just to give you the sense of the scale, to help you understand, we are about 250,000 businesses are powered by Twilio.
Okay.
Globally. We power about 1 trillion human interactions in a day, which is, in my limited knowledge, is the largest transactional volume in the world globally. We enabled 592 million messages sent and received per day. And finally, we sent 3+ trillion email messages in a year. So just to give you a sense of how large Twilio has become in last 12 years, we just celebrated our 13th anniversary in a more developer-friendly way. We actually send developer code in space just to make sure that we celebrate our developer focus. And quite frankly, this is where CPaaS has actually shaped up for us. But at the same time, like you said, how do we enable businesses? And the recent shift in last 2 years, sort of in some way propelled by the pandemic and the changing needs of consumer engagement, Twilio is highly focused on building a consumer engagement platform. We recently announced Twilio Engage, which is the next generation of consumer engagement platform built on top of segment infrastructure plus Twilio's communications platform, and building an end-to-end, very, very intelligent consumer engagement platform for the next generation. This is a shift happening in front of us. And you said something very interesting in your introduction, that we are actually looking at a very silent transformation. In fact, we saw 54% increase in digital interactions during 2022.
Okay.
This essentially means that this is a generational shift. Companies who need to engage with their customers meaningfully, companies who have to transform their offline interactions online, is where Twilio comes into picture. And when we open these possibilities for our developers, this is a very, very powerful combination. And I think this is where Twilio becomes a very, very important player in this space. But yeah, that would be my interpretation of what Twilio would do.
I could sense that passion, when you were describing, and especially, taking this whole conversation towards the CPaaS aspect, and I'll come to that. I mean, that also will prompt me to ask something extempore.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, I read a little bit and heard a few interviews of Jeff Lawson from the time of inception, how the company has actually come up, and he rightly calls it a developers company, and how it gives so much possibilities for developers. And the amazing data that you shared about the organization, the 3+ trillion email messages, 1+ trillion human interactions, serving already 250,000 customers. Yes, that is true that going forward, the amount of digital interactions will only go higher. So in that light, when you talked about CPaaS, it's about a platform that squarely gives the power to developers to add voice, video, messaging to their applications without having to build a different communication stack. Now, how are you seeing the adoption of this kind of solution and service and product in the market? Is Twilio ahead of time? Is it right in time? Or, I mean, it's certainly not behind time, I can say so.
See, I think, like I said, Twilio was built for this day. And when I say this, there are two important aspects of this particular statement. One, we were ahead of time. We are ahead of time in terms of the sheer capabilities of the platform.
Yeah.
And this is what actually is the most exciting part for the developers and the companies in terms of transforming their offline to online side kind of workloads.
True.
Twilio is far ahead of in terms of the platform capabilities. And when if you're looking at this level of scale, Rahul, you can appreciate the level of engineering rigor that has to go in. We are handling so many transactions for every customers of ours that our focus is so much on the trust, building trust, security, safety for the data and the transmission that we are handling. So I think in terms of platform, Twilio has always been quite ahead of rest of the industry. And I think that's why Jeff rightly puts it to be, hey, we were built for this day. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons why, Rahul, I fundamentally believe that when the reality changed suddenly, we were able to adopt to the newer requirements of our customers. I'll take one moment to also talk about the company value that we firmly believe in. Not only we talk, but we walk that value, is wear customer shoes. In fact, if you go to Twilio offices worldwide, you will have physical shoes of customers hanging on the walls.
Okay.
That keeps reminding you that, hey, you know what? This is what we are building for. And I think that
what does this symbolize, by the way?
That symbolizes, it gives you a very, very real sort of sense of how important customers view is, right? You have to wear customers' shoes every day. So if I'm going to my pantry,
step into the customer's shoes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think this is one of the strongest value that Twilio has developed over time. And that is the reason why, second part of your question, where this entire transformation toward consumer engagement platform is becoming more and more interesting. And one reason why that is interesting is that, yes, we want to move our customer engagement online, but that doesn't mean that we want to bombard people with thousands of emails, which don't make sense. Now we need to go to a place where we know our customers intimately. We want to deeply understand what Rahul wants to know from us. So now, not only the volume is important, but also the smartness of data, the intelligence of data, and how I engage with my customers become more interesting. So to answer your question, yes, we are quite ahead and quite ready for the challenges that lie ahead of us. But at the same time, we are working on the real customer needs of meaningfully engaging their customers. Some of this you are going to see very soon coming out.
Great. I mean, you were about to steal the thunder when you started explaining about Engage and the acquisition of Segment.
I'll wait for you.
Yeah, I was about to interrupt you. That please don't. I will have a particular question for that. Okay. So, how important is it? Now, I'm going back from being very Twilio centric right now. I'm taking a step back, and I very intriguingly wanted to ask, how important is it for an organization today to develop personalized customer connections, similar to some of the really big tech giants, the big tech companies, the likes of Amazon, the Googles, the Facebooks, even the digital natives like Netflix, and because we understand, I mean, it's a confirmed thing that they understand their customers far better than many others.
Yeah.
And how does the customer data fuel performance and drive growth in such cases?
Well, this is fundamentally the question that everybody is asking. Thanks for asking this. This is a very profoundly important question for all of us. You rightly said that how important is personalized customer connections? Like I said, right? As large part of the healthcare, e-commerce, and bunch of other workflows become online, it becomes very, very important to get the mind share of your users. And I'll give an example that Google shared about 2 days back. In India, an average Android user spends 5.5 hours on their phone. In that 5.5 hours, there are multiple people trying to extract that level of concentration from the user. Somebody's trying to get you to buy some clothes, somebody's asking you to travel somewhere, n number of things are happening. How do you make sure that in that fraction of a second that the user is willing to give you, you give them the most important, engaging information to work on? This is the problem that everybody is trying to solve. And if you look outside, right, there are some gold standards. For example, Amazon has solved the problem at scale. Google has solved the problem at scale. Netflix is, like you said, has solved the problem at scale. But think of what they have.
Yeah.
They have massive capabilities of engineering, of product, of having data science, machine learning, AI behind their back.
Yeah.
What Twilio is doing, and this is where Twilio Engage becomes an extremely powerful tool, is to commoditize this. It gives you the equally powerful insights into your customers' data and necessary ability to build intelligence decision out of it. On top of that, it gives you the capabilities of Twilio's communications API.
True.
Which allows you to translate this intelligence into multi-channel communications platform. This is what Twilio Engage is. And like I said, I cannot hide my excitement.
I know.
But this
let it flow as it is.
Yeah.
Flowing.
And this is very, very powerful vision. And like I said, democratization of personalization at this level for B2Cs and B2B companies of every size that can deliver exceptional customer interactions across every touch point is going to be a very, very powerful outcome from Engage. And that's where we are focusing on.
No, great. So one more question. I mean, I'm meandering a lot here and there, but one more question: how customizable are the solutions or are the products that you offer to the customers, or are they the only customizable solution as compared to the, I would say legacy companies like Avaya or like Cisco?
Yeah, this is where the crux of Twilio's values come in. Because all the products, every product that we have built are developer first. They are built on top of APIs. So essentially you have building blocks. And then you take those building blocks and you can build extremely complex, your customization applied on top of it, and your solution becomes your own.
Cool.
So for example, all the large companies that work with this, for example, Lyft, they have built their own contact center based on Twilio Flex, which gives you building blocks to take the building blocks, build your own customized workflow to a level where it can get extremely complex. So I think the key to understand Twilio is to make sure that we give all the building blocks with APIs, SDKs, and tooling. But then it's your own imagination and business logic that you can actually use to customize any of this. So to answer your question back, almost all the products that we have are customized to a level where you can actually build your own workflows out of it.
Okay, I will move on, Ved. So one of the biggest challenges that the technology leaders grapple with or are grappling with is balancing flexibility against consistency for the developers and the team. And we know, I mean, in the beginning itself, you established the importance of developers. I certainly know that they are the backbone for any organization today which wants to, deal with their digital assets and digital transformation. So this clearly shows in the choice of tools and cloud services that they opt for. So what advice would you have for these technology leaders like CIOs, like CTOs? How should they work with the developers so that they come up with the right product and the right solution?
Yeah, I think this is a very broad question. I'm glad that we are talking about this because I get this question from a lot of people almost all the time, right? And I think that also emphasizes the fact that a lot of CIOs, a lot of CTOs are now looking at some of the possibilities that we just talked about, right? And you are absolutely correct in terms of how do you balance flexibility against consistency? How do you make developers the first-class citizen in terms of these choices? And to be honest with you, as traditional CIOs and CTOs, we were not ready for this level of change so quickly. So there is a lot of rethinking going on right now. And I will give you the same answer that I give to a lot of my friends and colleagues who keep me asking this. I think the balance between the flexibility and consistency has to be driven by fundamentally what you want to build. What building blocks do you need to sort of get your business onto an online platform like, let's say, CPaaS? Now, every business has very unique challenges, opportunities that they can work with. My suggestion for this would be look at maximum building blocks that you can use. Make sure that your developers are comfortable with those building blocks. Make sure you have the stability of platform, trust of the platform given to you. Once you have that, you can forget about these challenges. Then you can focus about building a very rich set of features on top of these building blocks. And if this balance can be struck in terms of flexibility and consistency, I think the answer lies somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
But my choice would be first to make sure that the platform should have enough building blocks to take your business and scale that. If that is not the case, then you will have vendor lock-ins, you will have a lot of challenges in terms of future-proofing your solutions that unfortunately I have seen my career so many times that I really stay very cautious of these kind of challenges.
Yeah, most certainly, because you come from a background where you were, at some point in time, you must be evaluating such platforms.
I've seen the other side, yes.
Yeah, you were on the other side of the table. Okay, so now I come to the crux, core of this discussion. Twilio recently acquired Segment, which was, which helped the company adding customer data platform and data capabilities to their offerings. So how does that change Twilio's value proposition to customers and maybe even to the developers?
Yeah, this is a great question, Rahul, and I think a lot of ambition for Twilio Engage is possible because now we have Segment with us. Right? So just give you a context about what Segment brings in. Segment is the largest consumer data platform in the world. So essentially, it allows you to sort of ingest data from more than 300 or 400 sources, collect them, and then process it into more insightful data. For example, if you are a business, let's say you are an e-commerce business, Segment will allow you to get data from all your sources, from your website, from your mobile application, from your payment system, from your databases, n number of places. But what you get is the possibility for all the data to give you one single source of truth. From all this disparate behavior and consumer data, I can find out what Rahul has done. But the other part of this story is even more exciting, where I can start predicting what Rahul will do. Yeah. So these two things can become an extremely powerful possibilities. Now, coming back to the question of Segment and where does it fit? So I think CDP was the biggest proposition that sort of Segment provided. And by adding intelligence to our engagement cloud, we will provide developers with unified customer data for every customer touch point. I can't tell you how powerful this will become as we go along. It also gives ability for the marketing, sales, customer service leaders with the insight that they need to decide what is the strategy going forward, using the rich data that Segment provides. And on top of that, I think now we have the capability for using the CDP platform, Segment CDP platform, to generate unparalleled insight into the way the customers interact across channels, the way I spoke to you about, right? And then break down this data into different silos. You can actually process them between different existing systems, etc., first party, third party connectors. So in short, I think Segment brings us an incredible amount of data and generates a very operational insight on top of it. This is where Segment is world's leader in terms of platform. What we are also building, as we will talk about it soon, is the intelligence layer and multi-channel capabilities on top of it.
Okay.
So this will become the sort of gold standard for marketers. Because now you have the data, you have the intelligence, and you have the multi-channel capabilities of Twilio's platform to sort of drive your end-to-end customer engagement workflows.
Great. So, before I move on to the next question, which is about Twilio Engage platform, you just mentioned that the future forward is about knowing what a customer will do. I mean, that requires quite a precision and quite some data to analyze to get into the psyche of customer and decide that what will the customer do in the future. So I'm very intrigued to know how accurate those kind of calculations and algorithms are, which predict about the future behavior.
See, I think I read this somewhere, and I believe it's a very fundamentally solid premise that all your ML and AI would be as accurate as your data.
That is true, of course.
And I think that's the reason why I think I'm personally more excited about the capabilities built over Segment.
Okay.
Because the amount of data and the fidelity of data that you get from a CDP like Segment frames the underlying infrastructure for you to build intelligence.
Sure.
However, intelligence, the way we are thinking about, is not canned intelligence. We are not going to say that, hey, you know what? You can choose from these three kind of intelligent insights. We are also building a platform where you, as a consumer, using the APIs of Twilio Engage, can build your own ML and AI. So while you have a bunch of very, very strong insights provided by Engage as a platform, if you choose to, you can take the same level of rich data and the ML platform to actually build your own insights as well. And I think, like I said, if you have great data, your insights would be even greater, right? But as you build this platform, you have the capability to customize some of these things. You have the capabilities to extend some of these things. And I think as we go into the next generation of intelligent systems, this capability will become increasingly important for you. So I am hopeful that, between the fidelity of data and accuracy of data and our ability to customize our intelligence layer, this will continue to become even more accurate as we go along.
Just one supplementary question to this is about, how is the data privacy taken care of? Because this is a lot of personal data.
Absolutely. So like I said, right, I think for us, privacy, trust, safety, and compliance are extremely important. When we lay down our company's yearly targets, our priority one has always been consumer trust. In terms of privacy, like you said, in terms of safety of data, safety of transmission, compliance of data. Our systems are being used by healthcare, our systems are used by governments, financial institutions. We have to be compliant. And this is our constant focus. This is our priority one for a very long time, and it will continue to be our top priority. And at the scale that we are and the kind of businesses that we empower, we are extremely sort of confident that we'll be able to support the need of privacy and compliance for all our businesses. There is huge investment going on year to make sure that our security posture is strengthened every year, right? And we'll continue to sort of guarantee and invest in that.
Yeah, so assuming that the CDPs are something that are central to solving a lot of challenges that the marketeers and the technology organizations face, especially in the realm of reduced or shrinking technology budgets. Now we come to the Engage platform. So I was just surfing through some of the major announcements made at the recently held Signal event, and I know that Twilio Engage was announced. It was a growth automation platform that helps marketers deliver exceptional omnichannel campaigns which are fit for digital era. So how does it work? And what else would you like to tell me about Engage now? Please feel free to spill all the beans
I would
that
love
you
to.
want to.
Yeah, I think Signal 2021 was very exciting in terms of the product lineup that we launched, and the reason being that we spoke to all our customers, 400 customers we interviewed, just to understand what they need for next year. Yeah. And the lineup that you see in terms of our announcement comes from that feedback. Now, Twilio Engage is a key pillar of Twilio's consumer engagement journey, but there are multiple other quite exciting and fundamentally different engagement features that we are launching as well. And I'll just name a few. Messaging X is a completely new developer platform on top of messaging. So messaging is Twilio's biggest business because we empower SMSs to globally, right? Messaging X is a very exciting sort of 2.0 sort of vision for messaging. Twilio Live is a video platform that allows you to create very rich live video experience. Now we know that everything is on video, right? Education is mode, healthcare is mode, our interactions have mode. So Twilio Live is an amazing sort of take on how do you use video to build very meaningfully engaging one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many kind of video sort of use cases. Flex is our CRM, one of the most customizable and industry-leading CRM. We are launching the 2.0 for Flex. We are calling it Flex 1. This Flex vision is built again on top of something like Engage, where you have a single source of truth about your customers coming from n number of sources. This is a very different way to think about CRM. Frontline is our product for areas where people actually are on the front line of the business. They need to interact with their customers, their supervisors, a bunch of other use cases, and a bunch of other things that we launched and we believe are fundamentally what customers have been asking from us. Yeah, but you're right. Twilio Engage is the key pillar that will actually bind some of these things together. Yeah, like I said, it's a multi-channel marketing campaign builder powered by real-time first-party customer data coming from Segment CDP. But fundamentally, it gives B2C marketers all the tools, all the integration and analytics that they need to deliver true end-to-end customer engagement using multi-channel sort of communications platform. And one key part that is something that we are quite proud of is the intelligence layer. You get to know your customers. You accelerate campaign delivery, personalize every interaction, and use any combination of tools, by the way. You can actually mix and match what works for you. I can tell you what is the most optimized time for me to send you an email so that you can read it. So now we are talking about the traditional method of engaging with consumer and then add a lot of smartness around it. This is the premise of the segment piece that I'm quite excited about.
Okay, so in the interim, before I end my conversation with you, can we exemplify something for the benefit of our viewers and listeners? For example, any industry that you think is adopting or has adopted Twilio more than other segments, and how does it function? What does it result into? What is the ROI?
Yeah, I think quite surprisingly, there is no one answer here,
Okay.
and I think a lot of this has to do with the growth of digital transformation over last year.
Right.
We know that 43% of the businesses that we have talked to or who use us, they have raised the accuracy of customer data and personalization to be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
What we also see is that in last 2 years, industry sectors that were very traditionally built over time, they have accelerated their transformation also. In fact, you will see quite a silent transformation happening in traditionally offline things like healthcare. Mm-hmm. We are partnering with so many healthcare, government as well as private companies to make sure their transformation is moving faster. We have similar excitement from let's say B2C, B2B, and sometimes also newer field. For example, IoT driven business has really bloomed in the last couple of years because everything is now becoming less and less human touch point less. So you want to actually invest in IoTs to manage some of your sort of orchestrations. So it's a difficult answer for me to give because in last 2 years, we have seen new use cases, completely new ideas coming from different sectors that we believed were probably the last to get transformed. And this is a discovery that we are making right now. But yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, a moment of generational change. And we are seeing quite an excitement about quite a few other sectors as well.
No, I can understand that, there is no finite answer to this question. It was a very impromptu question, to be very honest.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That brings me to my last point of conversation. How do you operate in India? What's the go-to-market and what are the growth plans? How do you want to interact with your customers and etc.?
Yeah. So I will talk about specifically India. In Bangalore, operations was started somewhere around February, March 2022, just before COVID has hit us. And within last 15 months, Twilio India has grown significantly. We are the largest Twilio site outside of the US already. And our focus has been to sort of build capabilities for Twilio globally, for R&D, for go-to-market, sales, customer support, and few other functions. Our vision for expanding here is to become the trusted global R&D center. At the same time, building core ownership and capabilities for our go-to-market functions, our sales functions, and few other very specific functions that we want to invest in for the region itself. For example, in APJ, Twilio offices are there in Singapore, Sydney, Melbourne, Hong Kong, Tokyo. And not only Bangalore has grown, but as a region, we are about equally growing in all of the region as well. And Bangalore Center is partnering with all of them to make sure that our focus for APJ as a region and specifically for India, we can drive from Bangalore. Now, I believe that in last 15 months, we have been strong partners on building key features for Twilio's roadmap across different functions. Our Bangalore-based go-to-market teams are uniquely positioned to support globally Twilio customers as well as APJ region as well. And I think both for R&D and go-to-market and all of the functions that we already have on the site, we are foreseeing quite an exciting growth coming for the next year and beyond. But just, taking a step back, getting to a place where we are meaningfully building capabilities for such a large sort of spectrum of problems is where I'm personally quite excited about. Within 15 months, we are actually the largest site outside of the US. We have large part of the ownership in terms of overall business and roadmap. That is the most exciting part for me. And the way I'm looking at the growth coming for Bangalore site and APJ region for next few years, it's a rocket ship. And I would actually, if people are interested in this space, if they love to build problems of scale, come and join us. You will never have a dull day. I haven't.
I'm sure if this is, I mean, in the 15 months, it has become the second largest site outside the US, then most certainly people will be excited to work with you and both sides of people, developers as well as the customers. So that brings me to the end of this conversation, Ved. It was really nice talking to you. It was really nice knowing you and nice talking to you. Thank you so much.
Amazing talking to you, Rahul, and thanks for having me again.